Friends, as I earlier told you that in the movie Three Idiot, Amir Khan, instead of using simple language, he says or he delivered a speech just by saying if he has to say just about books. Now I can give you one more example, that is the poem Windover, written by Hopkins. He is really a great poet. In the very first line of this Windover, he is saying that you know I caught this morning's minion, and so on. But the general meaning of this line is very simple. The meaning is that i i saw a falcon. The general meaning is that I saw a falcon, but instead of saying this I saw a falcon, because this is prosaic language, this is very general language. Because if we will read the poem like that, I saw a falcon this morning, for example, like this, then it will be very odd. That's why what he did, that he uses I, he cut this saw and uses I caught. Instead of using saw, he used caught. Now if we will read this sentence, then I caught a falcon, okay, this morning, okay. So I caught a falcon this morning. Now the very word caught, caught means pakarna. For example, I caught a cat, I caught a mouse. So this is also not the current correct sentence, that I caught a falcon this morning. This is misreading. So now what he did, that he put this morning before, and then he make it I caught this morning. Now, and for this falcon he uses morning's minion. So by seeing all these things, we can say that by deforming or by reconstructing, by transforming, we can change this general language into literary language. So this is how we can bring changes into this in Russian formalism, yes, about from this general language to the literary language. Now come to the point, after elaborating these all things, there are few points in Russian formalism that should be discussed. It was Russian formalists that first divided, or that they divided, or they distinguished between plot and the story. He coined for this the distinction between plot and summary. He said that he coined a term, that is fabula, fabula, and the English equivalent term for this fabula, fabula, is story. It means that fabula means story. Fabula is a Russian word. Now what is a story? A story, it is defined as the chronological sequence of events. Story is the chronological sequence of events. And the second term which he coined, that is Zuzet. The spelling of Zuzet is Syuzhet. We pronounce it Zuzet. It means that plot of a literary text. And how it is defined, that it is the if when we put in chronological order the story, then it is called plot. So we can say that the arrangement of the story or the arrangement of the fabula is called plot or Zuzet. Now in another word, we can say that the story is the chronological events outside the text, and plot is defined as the chronological event chronological order of events inside the text. This is the another definition of this plot and summary. Now there is one more term, and that is the most important term in this Russian formalism, that is defamiliar. The spelling is DEFAMILIARISATION. Defamiliarization. Okay, this is the term which is coined by Victor Shklovsky. Victor Shklovsky, he is the one of the greatest critics in this Russian formalism, along with Roman Jakobson, and there are so many critics. So this Victor Shklovsky coined this term defamiliarization. Okay, and the English equivalent term for this defamiliarization is ostraneny. Ostraneny, it means that making strange, and this is the same thing that I have discussed, that how we can make strange a particular text in from this ordinary language to literary language. So this is the the term coined by Victor Shklovsky. Now one of the critics of this Russian formalism, he has defined this defamiliarization into his own words, and he's saying that literature is an Roman Jakobson, one of the critics of this school, he says that literature is an organized violence committed on an ordinary language. See his definition. What he is saying, that it is an organized violence. Organized violence. It is violence, yet it is organized, committed on an ordinary language. It means that by changing, by transforming, by deforming, by reconstructing, we can change ordinary language to the literary language. So this is called in Roman Jakobson's word, organized violence. Again this Victor Shklovsky, who coined this term defamiliarization, he says that art is the way of experiencing the artfulness of the object. This art is something which which we can experience. How we can experience? Through the artfulness. As I said that the literariness is very important in this term. So this, how it is different from others, how the text which is used in poetry or which is used in literature is different from this simple language. This distinction, or this the point of point of things which distinguish it from another, through which we can experience. So art is the way of experiencing the artfulness of the object. The object itself is not important, but the artfulness. It means that the content, it is not so much important, but how we present it, or how we write it. As I told you that in Windover, the general meaning is that I saw a falcon, but instead of saying I saw a falcon this morning, G.M. Hopkins said that I caught this morning's million. See the language. So this is something that make strange from the language which we use in general, or which we use in our general speech or general communication. So this is all about the Russian formalism. Before I will end this video, I will revise all those things whatever I have said. First is the very first thing is that this formalism emerged in 1950s and flourished in 1920s because of this Stalin's dictatorship. It shifted from Moscow to Czechoslovakia, and there it is known as Prague School of criticism. And in this literary criticism pattern, we study about the form, but it does not mean that content is less important, but both should be fused in literature. After that, we study we study about technical devices, and the three terms, that is fabula, which the English equivalent term for fable is story. You know, the chronological sequence of events, and there is Suzette. The English equivalent term for this Suzette is plot. And the arrangement of story is called plot, or the other definition that the chronological sequence of events outside the text is called story, and the chronological sequence of events inside the story is called plot. And the last term was defamiliarization, coined by Victor Sklovsky in his essay As Device. Okay, his essays he has written essay called As Device, and in this essay he coined this term. And the English equivalent term for this Russian word is that ostreneny, which means making strange. So these are the things in Russian formalism, and I have tried to make it to make these all things in simple language, and I hope that you will understand these all things. So thank you.